This truck like it's getting ready to move here. I couldn't see if it was him or not. See if we can get a little surveillance. Hey, can you stay with police real quick, Lawrence?
August 27th, 2025. 8:27 a.m. Minneapolis, Minnesota. The beginning of a new school year. But on this morning, the promise of a fresh start was shattered. In a sanctuary, a place of peace and worship, a coward decided to take the lives of 2 innocent children and wound a dozen more. This is not a story of random violence. It is a chronicle of a premeditated act, a community's grief, and the systemic failures that enabled a person with a mind full of hate to acquire the means to kill. This is the story of the Minneapolis school shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church. The first calls came in at 8:27 a.m., a terrified voice reporting shots fired at Annunciation Catholic School. The school and church, nestled in a quiet Minneapolis neighborhood, was the site of a back-to-school mass attended by nearly 200 children and adults. Within 4 minutes, a Minneapolis police officer arrived. A parishioner directed him to the source of the gunfire, and he immediately entered the church to provide first aid. The shooter, later identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman, had approached the side of the church and fired more than 100 rifle rounds through the windows at the people inside. It was a calculated, deliberate act. The attacker had placed a wooden plank to barricade some side doors, a clear sign of a plan to maximize casualties. The police found a smoke bomb at the scene as well. When the attack was over, the shooter was found in the back of the church, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Westman had acted alone. The arsenal was recovered: a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. Forensic investigators found 116 rifle rounds and 3 shotgun shells, along with a live round from the handgun that had malfunctioned and became stuck in the weapon's chamber. Investigators later credited the church's locked doors with saving countless lives. The facts of the case tell the story of a crime. But to understand the true cost, we must look at the lives lost. 2 children were killed: Fletcher Merkel, an 8-year-old boy, and Harper Moyski, a 10-year-old girl. Both were sitting in the pews during Mass when they were struck by gunfire. Another 18 people were injured, 15 of them children as young as 6. 3 adults, all parishioners in their 80s, were also wounded. In the days that followed, the families of Fletcher and Harper shared their heart-wrenching stories. Fletcher's father, Jesse Merkel, tearfully delivered a statement outside the church. He described his son as a boy who loved his family, friends, fishing, cooking, and any sport that he was allowed to play. In a voice choked with grief, he said, Yesterday, a coward decided to take our 8-year-old son, Fletcher, away from us. He lamented that because of the attack, the family would never be allowed to hold him, talk to him, play with him, and watch him grow into the wonderful young man he was on the path to becoming.
Well, turning now to Minneapolis, this morning we're hearing from the families of the 2 young children killed in Wednesday's school shooting. 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel and 10-year-old Harper Moyski died when a shooter opened fire on the Annunciation Catholic Church. Their families, while heartbroken, shared hopes of healing and change.
Fletcher loved his family, friends, fishing, cooking, and any sport that he was allowed to play. While the hole in our hearts and lives will never be filled, I hope that in time our family can find healing. Give your kids an extra hug and kiss today. We love you, Fletcher. You'll always be with us.
Just heartbreaking. And
Harper's parents remembered their daughter as a bright, joyful, and deeply loved 10-year-old whose laughter, kindness, and spirit touched everyone who knew her. They declared that no family should have to endure such pain and ended with a powerful call to action. We urge our leaders and communities to take meaningful steps to address gun violence and the mental health crisis in this country. This human-centered perspective is what truly defines this tragedy. The community's response was a testament to its strength. Vigils were held at Lyndhurst Park, and hundreds of people came together to mourn the victims. The grief was shared, and in the face of such profound violence, the city chose to focus on compassion and healing.
And just into our newsroom now, a message from the parents of the other child who was killed in yesterday's tragedy. This is 10-year-old Harper Moyski. Her parents, Michael Moyski and Jackie Flavin, want us all to know that Harper was a bright, joyful, and deeply loved 10-year-old whose laughter, kindness, and spirit touched everyone. Excuse me, who knew her? Frank, I do want to finish what the parents said because, I mean, they obviously want people to remember Harper. She was joyful and deeply loved.
Yeah, please, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, loved 10-year-old whose laughter, kindness, and spirit touched everyone who knew her. They say their hearts are broken as parents, but also for her little sister, who they say adored her and is also grieving this unimaginable loss. So our hearts go out to them and prayers. All right, thank you, Frank.
Well, no one that's a parent can imagine, raising their kid without their siblings around. There's no doubt, I get it.
All right, thank you.
The investigation quickly turned to the mind of the perpetrator, Robin Westman, a name already familiar to the school. Westman, formerly known as Robert, was a former student, graduating from Annunciation in 2017. A former classmate recalled Westman as quiet and having a crazy distaste for the school, a resentment that seemed to fester despite Westman's own mother working there for 5 years as a parish secretary. Westman's notebooks, later recovered by police, detailed a meticulous plan for the attack. In one entry, Westman wrote of a desire to shoot down the rows of pews at all the kids and expressed a profound obsession with killing children.
I am sick. Let's just listen down. Where's your God? Kill Donald Trump.
Westman's motives were a chaotic mishmash of views that defied a single explanation. The attacker released videos showing a cache of weapons scrawled with phrases like "Kill Donald Trump" and "Where's your God?" Yet, other materials contained chillingly anti-Semitic phrases like "Jew gas" and "6 million wasn't enough." These contradictions led law enforcement to conclude that the motive was not political but deeply personal. Acting U.S. Attorney for Minnesota, Joseph Thompson, said, Westman wanted to watch children suffer and at the shooter's own words, I don't want to do it to spread a message. I do it to please myself. I do it because I am sick, revealed a profound and narcissistic motivation. The final, harrowing piece of this puzzle is the fact that Robin Westman, despite these documented signs of violent intent, was able to legally purchase the 3 guns used in the attack. Police Chief Brian O'Hara confirmed that Westman had no known criminal history or state-ordered mental health commitments that would have prevented the purchase. In fact, the shooter's own writings noted how shockingly easy it was to buy a gun from a pawnshop. This is where the story of the Minneapolis tragedy becomes a powerful case study. Minnesota had a red flag law that took effect in 2024. It had a permit requirement for certain semi-automatic weapons. Yet, none of these laws were effective. The system, designed to stop those with a documented history of dangerous behavior, was powerless to stop someone who had not yet crossed a legal threshold. Laws were built to fail, by design of political gridlock and lobbying. This highlights a critical, ongoing national debate.
There are no words that can capture the horror and the evil of this unspeakable act. Children are dead. There are families that have a deceased child. You cannot put into words the gravity, the tragedy, or the absolute pain of this situation. We are a Minneapolis family. But to everybody out there, do not think of these as just somebody else's kids. Those families are suffering immense pain right now. Think of this as if it were your own. Every one of us needs to be wrapping our arms around these families, giving them every ounce that we can muster. These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary. And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. These are the sort of basic assurances that every family should have, every step of the day, regardless of where they are in our country.
Joining us now is Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, who joins us from here in the city. Good morning to you, Mayor.
Good morning.
I want to begin with the people most directly impacted by this, the community here behind me, and the condition of the people wounded. Can you share any updates with us?
We know that 2 kids were tragically killed. We know that many more were injured. As horrible as this was, it could have been a whole lot worse, but for the incredibly brave faculty and teachers that protected these kids from harm, the police officers that ran towards danger when the rest of us could have ran in the other direction. This was a horrific tragedy in Minneapolis. And then again, how many times have you heard politicians talk about an unspeakable tragedy, and yet this kind of thing happens again and again? Prayers, thoughts, they are certainly welcomed, but they're not enough. Right now we have a city that is united in grief, and we have a city that is going to be united in action. because the truth is that there needs to be change so that we don't have another mayor in another month and a half talking about a tragedy that happened in their city.
This picture that we now have of the shooter is incredibly disturbing. Here in Minneapolis, there are very strong red flag laws around gun control. Do you believe there were missed signs here in Minneapolis?
I don't know all the details yet, and so I'll speak generally, though. We have more guns in America than people. I don't see a reason why people should be able to buy a gun 1 month and then buy a gun the next month and then the next month after that. People, obviously, that have these severe mental health issues should not have access to guns. Yet this particular individual had access to a whole heap ton of them. People who say that this is not about guns, you got to be kidding me. This is about guns. We do need to take action. There are other countries around the world where horrific acts have taken place like this, and then they step up to make a change so that it in fact does not happen again. We can take that same sort of action here now and let this be the last time. Again, how many times have you heard people talk about this, and there needs to be a necessary change, and then change isn't made? It's on all of us.
Mayor Frey, I want to come back to the two little children, the 8 and 10-year-old who lost their lives here in your community yesterday. Have you spoken to their families?
Their families are going through quite a bit of grief right now at this moment, and I was in a room with them, but they need some time to process this, and I am available for anything that they could possibly need. And look, we have to be thinking about them not as somebody else's kids, but as our own. Think about them as our own kids. Consider how you would feel. Think about, that last interaction that you had with your children this morning. You kiss them goodbye, you shove some applesauce in their hand. It's the little annoyances that are actually kind of beautiful. And every parent should have the assurance that their kid is going to be able to get home safely. And tragically, that did not happen for these parents right now. And so we all have different, titles in life, professional and otherwise. But I'll tell you, the titles that matter most to me, it's husband and it's dad. And just last night, I only got about 3 hours of sleep. But when my daughter Frida climbed into bed with me and I get hit in the face with a foot, the things that are normally frustrating, I cherished every minute of it. I have a 3-week-old right now.
You thank God for it.
And
wow.
Changing a diaper at 2 in the morning, it's something that last night for sure I said, you know what, thank God she's okay and she's with us right now. But we have this obligation out of love for all of our children to make sure that this kind of thing never happens again. And we have an obligation, again, not just to feel grief in this moment, which is righteous, but we need to show action, which is essential.
I know that feeling. I hugged my children when I left New York to come back home to Minneapolis, so I appreciate it greatly. Thank you, Mayor Frey.
In the wake of the tragedy, Mayor Jacob Frey called for a statewide and federal ban on semi-automatic weapons and high-capacity magazines. But the political divide is clear. Minnesota's Gun Owners Caucus Chairman, Brian Strasser, stated that one half of the legislature doesn't believe that gun control is the answer. This tragedy, like so many others before it, has exposed a fundamental failure to bridge the gap between shared grief and effective action. The story of the Minneapolis tragedy is unfinished. For the 2 children whose lives were senselessly cut short, Fletcher Merkel and Harper Moyski, the legacy of their lives is not the violence that ended them, but the call to action their families have made. It is a call to face a truth that is hard to bear, that we are losing a generation of children to a cycle of hate and inaction. The Annunciation tragedy is a chronicle of pain, but it is also a testament to the strength and resilience of a community. It reminds us that empathy and compassion must be the foundation of our response. The shadows will only disappear if we, as a community, choose to shine a light on them. The silence of a community can be a shield for corruption. If this story has resonated with you, if it has opened your eyes to the secrets hidden in plain sight, then we urge you to do two things. First, become a part of our community. Subscribe to the Truth in Shadows channel to ensure you never miss another deep dive into the archives of state crime. Second, engage with this story. Hit the like button to show your support for this kind of in-depth, investigative journalism. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the case, on the role of justice in small towns, or on what we can do to prevent similar tragedies. Share this video with others who you think need to hear the truth. Because the truth, however dark, deserves to be brought into the light.